Okay, so we've talked about projects. Now let's talk about what programs are. Because the terms project, program, and portfolio, you hear them around, and a lot of people can't separate projects from programs. Programs typically contain two or more projects. So we say a program is defined as a group of related projects. A group of related projects, subsidiary programs, and program activities that are managed in a coordinated manner to obtain benefits that you wouldn't otherwise get if you were to manage these projects individually. To make this easier to understand, programs have at least two projects. So it can't be just one project. It has to be at least two projects or more. And it could also even have operational activities, but for the, for the specific outcome stated in a program. And when programs are initiated, they are typically initiated for some sort of a benefit that the organization needs, and that benefit is usually measured in the form of a KPI, a key performance indicator. So a good example of a program would be a program to elevate the level of, or maybe to elevate the rank of a school within, amongst its competitors, or a university is trying to rank higher amongst other universities. Different areas. Number one, the curriculum. So that's, defining or designing curriculums would be one criteria. Another thing they may want to look at is qualification of their lecturers. Another one they may look at is location or facilities that they have, which is a construction project. They may want to look at an IT project at maybe digitizing content or using smart boards or other technologies at the university. They may also need to consider financial matters and offer maybe incentives or programs for students. They also may want to look at the mix of the students. They may want to look at partnerships that they would have to create with some other organizations. And there's probably a few others. So if you think about it, there's a lot of different initiatives of different flavors and natures that the university would have to do in order for it to rank higher. And even when it does all of the things that we just mentioned, it does not mean that the university is going to rank higher right then. So a project, typically you go and hand over and it gets inspected and they would sign off and it's all done. On a program, you deliver all of the components as in the example of the university, and you wait it out for like 6 months or 1 year and record the difference. So after 1 year, whatever assessment was done to rank the university, when we do it after 1 year, we should hopefully get a better result because we have built in all of the components required to rank higher. So that's one example of a program. Another example would be an oil and gas facility where you have extraction of oil happening and then, let's say, processing of the oil, and then the sales or the supply chain aspects of distributing the oil, and then maybe storage facilities for the oil. And if you think about it, every one of these is a separate project, and some of them of a different nature, and this allows them to record some sort of benefit or KPI, which could be the volume of oil that they sell. So the program isn't about extracting the oil. That, the construction we do for us to be able to access the oil is one project. The warehouse, the storage is another one. The processing plant is another one, and the distribution channel is another one. And once you have all the pieces in place, you can now monitor and see if your facility can now pump the amount of oil that you're looking to pump out. Next, let's discuss mega projects. A lot of people confuse very large projects with programs. Well, very large projects are what they are. They're very large projects and they're not necessarily programs. You can manage them like a program because they have a lot of sub-projects, but a large project is typically a large structure. So a major bridge that connects two cities can be considered a mega project. A huge mall can be considered a mega project. An airport is considered a mega project. So these mega projects are just humongous sized projects, and they typically would run the range of $1 billion or more and run for multiple years because they take a long time to actually build, and they affect 1 million or more people. So something that sizable is called a mega project. And the best approach to managing mega projects is to find a balance between managing projects and managing programs due to its size. Next, let's discuss what portfolios are. Another word for portfolio is group or collection. So let's not talk about projects for a little bit. Some of you who are very rich are going to have a portfolio of cars, a collection of cars. So if I had 3 cars, then I have, let's say the 3 cars are a Bentley, Maserati, and I don't know, Ferrari. Yeah, why not? Since we're dreaming things up, might as well just include them. So let's say I have these and a BMW and a Mercedes and so on and so forth. And, I'm talking about these to a friend. I will discuss the portfolio of cars that I have. You could also have a portfolio of assets or real estate investments. You may have a couple of buildings. Why not? 2 buildings, 3 villas, and 6 apartments. That's your portfolio of real estate investments. So, in other words, a portfolio is a collection of whatever it is. So, a project portfolio is a collection of projects. The definition here goes into programs also. So we say it's a collection of projects, programs, and subsidiary portfolios and operations that the organization has, and that collection will be managed as a group to achieve strategic objectives. Programs include projects inside of them. Subsidiary portfolios are sub-portfolios of the whole. So if the organization has a high-level portfolio, then at the lower level, they could break it down. So for example, if I had a portfolio of investments, real estate investments, maybe I could break it into 2 sub-portfolios, one in Boston and another one, let's say, in New York. So I can call one the Boston portfolio, the other one the New York portfolio, and the contents of these portfolios would be the real estate investments that I have. And the projects in those portfolios do not have to be related. Okay? They're not necessarily related, they just happen to be there for ease of management. When we sort things out in a portfolio or break it down into subsets, we do it because it makes it easier to manage. But it also tells us that this one piece of the portfolio satisfies maybe a slice of the overall strategy of the organization, and the other one here satisfies a different slice, and so on and so forth. So when an organization wants to achieve its strategic objectives, it typically would initiate projects. And when these projects are related, we call them a program. And sometimes some of the other activities would be operational, and a collection of everything is called a portfolio. So an organization could have a portfolio of initiatives including operational work. So let's go back to the example of Starbucks. Starbucks has retail locations, the coffee shops, and that would be considered part of its operational work. And also they have their headquarters where operational work is happening. They probably do a lot of research on coffee and muffins and I don't know what. And on an ongoing basis, they're building new locations. So these are ongoing projects, and they may dissect these projects into different territories. So there you have subsidiary portfolios. So just remember these things. A portfolio is the collection of all of the activities that an organization is busy working on. That portfolio could be broken down into sub-portfolios, as I'm showing here on the right, And in the portfolios, you're going to have either projects or programs. The programs themselves are going to have projects underneath. There is another chart that I'll show you in a little bit that includes all of these. On this chart, you can see the structure and hierarchy of the organizational strategy and how it's executed via projects. At the highest level, you can see that we have organizational strategy. When the management or the C-level people or senior executives meet on an annual basis, they determine that some changes would have to happen to take them from the current state into a future state, so current, future. And they develop a strategic plan which is executed through projects along the way. So if this is a one-year strategy, then along the one-year strategy, these projects will be executed. These are the projects that sit down here. These are the projects. What you will see is that some of these projects roll up to one program. So this one program includes these two projects. But that one program is actually a sub-program of a bigger program, which is this one here. Do you see that? All right, so that is that's the bigger program here, and it includes a sub-program which includes its own projects. So at the lowest level, it's always going to be the projects, right? And then inside this one portfolio here, if you go down here, you see that there's an independent project that does not sit in a program. Over here, the portfolio breaks down into a sub-portfolio, and in the sub-portfolio, you see that it includes a program which includes projects and operations. Programs can have project work and operations. Portfolios can have programs. They can have sub-portfolios. They can have projects. And projects can only have sub-projects and activities. So projects here cannot have programs or portfolios because projects are the smallest piece, right? Now, when an organization executes on all of these projects that you see down here, these two projects will complete this one program, this one project, and others like these three here will complete this one program. Completing these here with that one there will complete that one portfolio. And what you're going to see me do eventually is that I'm going to shade all of these, and as we execute them, let's cross them off. And at some point, the whole portfolio would have been executed on, which should help the organization achieve its organizational strategy. So we plan from the top down. We plan from the top down. We execute from the bottom up, right? Every project counts to delivering that organizational strategy. One last thing that I want to point out is that all of these that you see here, they rely on shared resources and stakeholders at the lowest level. So you can't have the same resource on two projects for one full day. So you can't have the same one work 24 hours on two projects. If they're here, they cannot be there. Typical person would work for about 8 hours. So if they're working 8 hours on one project, they're not going to be on another project. If you're using a crane in one project, then you can't use it on the other project at the exact same time. If you're using a warehouse to store products, you cannot use it to store other products if it's full. So basically, resources are going to be limited, and we have to figure out the best way to use these resources. That is the job of portfolio managers. Portfolio managers have the responsibility to use organizational resources for the best outcomes. Portfolio managers focus on return on investment. Programs focus on achieving benefits and KPIs. And projects focus on delivering products, services, or results, one-off product, services, and results. And that's the sequence that happens, and that's the relationship between portfolios to programs to projects. One last slide before we end this session is to discuss what portfolios are intended to do. Number one, they help the organization figure out where they should best invest their resources, money, and people. They decide on the best mix of programs and projects to meet the strategic objectives. So on an annual basis, the role of the portfolio manager is to help the organization determine where they should put their resources. And that's because, as we discussed, resources will be limited. They provide decision-making transparency. They use formulas, they use business cases, they calculate the benefits and the cost, and therefore when an organization needs to make a decision on where it's going to invest its funds or money or resources, they have all the numbers to help with that decision. And because they have all the numbers, we're able to prioritize where the resources should go. They know that something needs to happen at a certain point because there are dependencies, and it's their job to advise the management of that. Because they do all these calculations and considerations, and because they tie the initiation of projects to strategic goals, we can say that they're going to increase the likelihood of the organization realizing the return on investment that they're aiming for. Finally, they centralize the management of aggregate risk profile of all components. If we go back to the chart where we were looking at, all of these things that happen down here, they roll up to the return on investment, ROI, of the organization. They also roll up to the level of risk that is built into this collection of projects. So if we have a few risky projects and there are of high dollar value, there's a very good chance that that risk is going to flow upwards and affect the organization. So the role of the portfolio manager is to make sure that the level of risk that they have in all of these projects that they're running is acceptable as per the thresholds of the organization. This brings us to the close of this video. I hope you liked it and enjoyed it and found it to be informative and enjoyable. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, share, and let us know, show us some love, let us know that you enjoy this so that we can continue to produce the rest of the videos. And one more thing, please turn on the notifications so that you'll know when the next video is out. We look forward to seeing your feedback on this one session, and we hope to see you on the next video. Thank you and goodbye.